Hey guys, how are you doing? The futures markets has just opened. It's midnight here in my time, and I just wanted to do a quick update on the uranium market. It's been yeah, I think 4 or 5 days. We had a a red week last week, but nonetheless, the week before on Friday we had the whole Trump announcement with increasing nuclear power and all that, and let's check in if it still looks good. There is only one little short-term concern in my view, and that's the gap fill of that Friday, big gap up. Will we get it? Let's dive in here. And remember, again, if you want to get the daily updates on every commodity, basically, again, try the subscription to see if that is something for you. Um, I think it will, of course. But yeah. Um, Let's do it. Let's dive into the business, which is the charts. That's why we're here. And URA, again, if you look at the weekly here, you can't see any gaps, right? The weekly, we have no gap. We do on the daily. We will look at that in just a minute here, but you can see we got very close to the 12-year highs. These here between 33 and 34 dollars. That is 12-year highs. We can zoom out here. Look at that. 12-year highs all the way back to here. And yeah, we've had a massive run basically since April. The lows of the tariff, massive, massive run. So going to the daily here, you can see what happened basically here. We kind of broke out and then we had the Trump news. And it wasn't until yesterday that I noted that we had a gap over here as well. And look at the gap here. So we have a gap up both places. Um, Therefore, I do believe that minimum we could see a retest of the gap here, and then we go further. If we get a full close of the gap, of course that stinks. But to be fair, this was the first thing on the video I did that day when we had, the 10%, 12% URA move that we have to mind the gap. It's still in play. But for now, we saw heavy volume here, and volume has been drying off here a little bit. So still on the weekly, really good signs, especially if we can clear, let's call it like 34, and maybe these upper here to 35. So we are somewhat close to leave the station here and actually start a huge move if we can do that. I think we will. It all depends on how long of a pause we will get here on the URA. It looks really strong still, long term with that whole cup and handle vibes, doesn't it? It's still looking incredible. Especially looking at, my favorite of all time, which is the URA divided by the spot price of URA or the U.UN, whichever you prefer. That to me is the road to navigate through this uranium market. URNM, we don't have much data, but this is more miners driven. And we're still in this very, very tight uptrend, which is neat. A little false breaky here. You can see that we have the blue channel, which is picture perfect until the tariff puke, false breakdown. And from this, as you know, we often go all the way to the other side of the false breakdown formation. Not in a straight line, but the target is the upper blue here. And in order to get there, we need to break the yellow. That's the next big hurdle. But for now, the uptrend is strong into gap resistance here. We have gap there as well. And this is the Trump gap. But again, uptrend fully intact as of now. So it all depends on how long we need to be here, in my view, before we go higher. Unless, of course, we break down from that. Then again, we are getting a deeper correction. But for now, still looks really, really strong. So as long as the uptrend is intact on URNM, fine. You don't really change anything. One thing though, I could see we hit that for the third time, and then we do something like that. That is actually my view here of this whole breakout here. And of course, when we break that, the bigger one, then we go to the blue. So short-term time frame, steep uptrend, but resistance comes shortly um, on the URNM. The juniors, somewhat similar here. We had this big false breakdown below all-time lows and below the blue here. So that is, again, false breakdowns. You see huge reversals, and the first pit stop in my book is always the other side. So we're getting there. The uptrend is still intact. Nothing really to be worried about as per se. Again, always keep in mind the gap there. We're still close to it. Therefore, it could get filled, um, which would stink short term. Absolutely. I'm not going to sit here and say otherwise. Nukes, massive rally. Holy bananas, right? From 33 to roughly $52 from the tariff lows to the all-time highs. Remember, it's not, this ETF is only 1 year old, basically, but we did hit all-time highs. That's resistance. But that is a really strong uptrend, basically no sellers across the board. And again, we're going to pull back here a little bit, depending, and then we're going to go up to there. That is my view until disproven or until I see something else. This very V-shaped recovery indicates, again, you can see here the bears, they are nowhere to be seen. There are no bigger pullbacks. There's nothing. That is always a good sign. So when we can clear roughly 52, we should see somewhere close to 70 during, like 2 months, basically 3 months. So here is a beauty. This is a beautiful one. This is the URA divided by the spot price looking back 5 years, and that's a breakout. Yes, you can see the blue here. That's the gap from the Trump. It could be a breakaway gap. And this is the most important ratio um, in the uranium sector that there is. And when we come to the URA divided by the U.UN, you can see why. Again, most people that has been following this know exactly why. But again, that's also a pretty darn good rail to break out from. So URA, gap or not, has broken out from the 4 year, 5 year downtrend and is on, outperformance territory against the spot price. Really good news. We're basically into almost 2 year highs. And yeah, again, we could see the retest gap fill here, fine, but still overall, we're breaking out. We could see the back testing and then go higher. Very bullish outlook for the uranium miners now, divided by the spot price. And you can see here momentum is still red, but again, if we can hold it here, the momentum will turn green and we have takeoff. The only thing where I get worried is if we retest here and we get back below into the channel and below the gap and all that, then for sure we will have a deeper sell-off. But for now, that is not what we're looking at. We're looking at higher prices until disproven. Fantastic looking chart, really. URNM divided by the spot price, from the bigger picture, we haven't really broken anything. And as you have noted, that URA is also doing better than the URNM. And we would prefer that to be the other way around, actually, to be in a true bull market from the miner's perspective. So we're still making marginal lower lows and lower highs. Nothing has changed. We did see some internal breakage here, which is okay. It's a good start, but we want roughly 0.63 to be broken. This one up here. And then you have a breakout on the URNM as well. And at that point in time, we have definitely gained more traction in the previous ratio where we looked at the URA. That is a given. So downtrend still, waiting for the break at some point in time. So we, again, not really overly happy because nothing has changed for the better part of 3 years, 4 years actually. So the U.UN, you can see here again, a bit of a speculative trend line here because we only have two. If we had one here, that would be perfect. But again, big run up and big flag. That's basically the main takeaway from this here. And you can see we have a little bit of an underperformance here. And now we hit resistance pulling back last week. The big moment still comes, and that's what we're all waiting for in the U.UN is to break out versus that. So once we can clear the yellow here, which is happening at roughly 24, then we are going to triangle highs again, which is here, and then pull back, and then we can go again. But again, these moves here shouldn't be, it sounds harsh, but it shouldn't even be considered until we break that. However, this is a beautiful bull flag, and these most of the time, you know, risk from a, most of the time they will break out to the upside. Internal resistance here, yes, but I think we're going to break out here at some point within the next few months. I think we will have the breakout here in the U.UN. We have the three impulses here. I think it's over. But again, we can't really say that until we get the breakout. Look for 24 on the U.UN. That should be your get-go start to the spot price for uranium. Similar here, still stuck in that pesky, January 2024 flag high, and we said it even here, it's going to peak somewhere between 100 and 130. Why? That's a major, major, major gap. And we ran roughly 107. Similar to the U.UN, bull flanking, massive retest here of horizontal levels and the trend line almost getting hit there. You can see how close we are to actually breaking out from the downtrend here or the bull flag. And like I've been saying, 73, my bad, is the highs from 2011, just before Fukushima. And that's, again, when that is cleared, that is also a big confirmation that the bull flag is broken and we're going to see higher prices once again. The spot, we will not look at the ratio. We have this little funny one here, which is the URNM divided by Cameco. Um, the entire uranium sector has done well. But as you can see here, it is actually the Cameco that is still doing too good, you can say. It's not bad, but we want the URNM to outperform Cameco. Because then all the small guys will do better. Like I've been saying many times, it's not bad that the Cameco is going down. In this case, you're actually seeing Cameco going up, and the other guys are going up less. So we're basically waiting for that 2-year downtrend to be broken at some point. And I think it could be over if you do some EV stuff here. I think the lows is going to be found here very, very shortly. But again, we won't know until we get the break, of course. So when that breaks, that's a good sign that URNM is now outperforming Cameco. And remember, Cameco will do well during that period. It just means that the small, more leveraged guys will do way better. And that's exactly what we want. And also, Cameco has been king. It is still up like 10, 15x since, basically the past 4 years. So Cameco has been a killer of an investment. Here we have it, the big bad boy of all charts. The Wyckoff, you've seen it before. Again, to all of you new guys, this is a Wyckoff accumulation pattern that I've noticed, I will say roughly 18 months ago. Again, I can't remember exactly when. And to me, this is still textbook the pattern. You can see here URA divided by the U.UN. You can look at this and see all the phases here pretty much to perfection, more or less. And we are now in the excited phase, the very, very excited phase where we have seen the spring here, the lows here, the test, it's right there. And then the next high, which is here, and then go time. I mean, this is absolutely fantastic. And if this holds true, which is something that I've been saying ever since, as long as the Wyckoff, as long as the ratio chart here follows the path of the textbook um, chart above here, or this one, that's all we need. And it does that to perfection. And Again, remember, this is a huge one in my book. This is a huge moment. Um, and if I'm correct, we're going to see this move here, which will be that. And then we're going to consolidate. And then we're going to do that. And that is the expectation until we are disproven. Meaning, the fun part, at least not the fun part, but a very funny moment here or time for uranium investors could be as we speak. Remember, we have a ton of momentum on nukes, the ETF, and we actually have that on all ETFs. The past 6 weeks has basically, in quotes, been vertical, not vertical, but very V-shaped kind of vibes. And we're seeing potentially the U.UN and the spot price breakout from its 1 year. Actually, it is almost 18 months actually worth of a bull flagging. So very excited here for the uranium market across the board, basically. The only thing that we have to have in our back of our heads short term is the news 10% gap up that we saw the other day here. Will that get filled before we go higher? I don't think so. I think it's a catalyst, breakaway gap that is not going to be tested again. I could be wrong though, but again, we are looking at it, and it was the first thing that I mentioned on that day where we saw the 10% URA move. It was good day for sure, but let's look at the gap and all the things that could happen here. But anyways, I will not talk anymore other than saying I hope you have a great week, both in your lives, but also from trading and or investing. That's me here. That's all I have. It's been great. Cheers, guys. Bye.